Hey, what's up? Welcome. I am so excited to be back. Please take a seat, relax, grab your favorite beverage, grab some chips. We are gonna take a journey. Um, I have been doing some serious meditation in the last 20 days. The first 10 days I was just a student, and then the last 10-day I served. So I was a server in the kitchen, and um, so I've got a lot of information to share. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. Um, this is going to be a more in-depth video that I did earlier about giving and receiving. So the meditation is all about law of nature. So we are actually storing a lot of negative reactions that have that we have accumulated throughout our entire lives, and we also create new ones every single moment. Um, and I'm not going to go into the science behind it, but um, the law of nature basically to summarize it, it's we are made of four elements. Um, earth, um, earth, gas, fire, and liquid or water. So, um, and whenever we have a negative reaction to something, past traumas, anger, whatever, uh, it instantly gets stored into our bodies. And what it does is it creates misery. And when we crave for things, when we avoid the pain of things, and when we ignore the truth of things, um, what happens is we get into these habits and conditions where we get complacent, and we all know that complacency kills. And so anyway, so the meditation really focused on that part of the law of nature. However, it didn't really teach us what I believe is even more valuable. Um, you know, Getting out of our misery. That is important. Having liberation from this. However, it doesn't really help with creating. Uh, you know, it creates a pattern of low self worth. And let me explain. So when you get when you don't cover the other part of law of nature, which I a lot of people will call this law of circulation, but really what law of circulation is a subcategory or part of law of nature. Just to get you to try to understand, when you're born, you can't give a breath unless you take one. So giving and receiving is actually interwoven into our actual being. It is part of our nature. Uh, for example, let's say if you eat something and you get something caught in your esophagus. If you don't get that unblocked, you're gonna die from suffocation. So giving and receiving is actually interwoven into our actual being. It is one of the laws of nature. And if you have a blockage in receiving, let's just say, for example, you go to someone's house and they offer you a glass of water. Regardless if you're thirsty or not, if you don't accept, what that does is it doesn't give you a connection to that person that person was wanting. So to understand, you have to put yourself in their shoes. So let's say if somebody comes to your house and you offer them a drink of water or whatever, it creates a very an awkwardness or a disconnect between you and that person. Now, there's many different levels of giving and receiving. So, when I go out, if I'm out driving and I see a homeless person on the side of the road, and you know I know I'm a source of money and I can give, um, and I can see that they need it. It's cold outside. They're freezing. They need, they need, heat, whatever, or a place to stay. Um, you know, by giving that, I'm opening up this circulation of giving and receiving, and what it does is actually kind of sends out the universe has this algorithm, and when you're in a state of giving and receiving and you're circulating, um, the universe always finds a way to give you what you know to give you what you gave. So it might not be the exact same thing as what you gave, but it opens up this circulation. And you know when I went and gave my 10 days of my time, I received a, an unbelievable, you know, amount of information that literally would change the direction or the trajectory of where I'm going to be when I get older. My grandpa committed suicide, and I resented him for that. And when I meditated, the emotions that I didn't know I was holding on to came up. And I never understood the real reason why he committed suicide. And when I understood that when his wife died, my grandma, it created so much heartbreak and so much pain that he craved being with her. It was like he couldn't fight the cravings. And to avoid the pain, it was much easier for him to take his own life. And as much as it hurt me that he didn't give my kids that, those moments of being with him, for him to share any wisdom that he could have, I resented him for that. And when I was able to forgive him, because I understood why he committed suicide, because if I didn't know that I'm storing the same negative reactions that create the misery, create the cravings, create the aversion of pain, create the ignorance. If I didn't know that I was doing the same generational thing that he was doing, I would end up in the same situation if I lost my wife, or even a son or a daughter, or whatever, because I would be craving that same pain or that same comfort. So that law of nature, that was one part of the law of nature that I learned through meditation. But they didn't actually teach the law of nature where when you give or when you receive and give, you're completing the circulation of that part of nature. And it's important to understand that you gotta really figure out what is your source. If you don't know what your source is, then you're gonna have a lot of trouble. You're gonna make the mistakes of giving the wrong things. So, I feel that I have this, great insight to the universe. Understanding that we are not separate entities. Only because I understand that there's only 0.0035 of the light that we can actually see and feel. So that makes the average person believe that we live in this three-dimensional world, and that doesn't allow them to actually transcend and see the other dimensions or feel them or whatever. But they're there. So when you know that those other dimensions are there, then you have to realize that there's no polarity in those other dimensions. That means we are all one conscious. So when I treat somebody the way I want to be treated, I'm giving that person, right? I'm giving that other entity, which is actually myself. We are all one conscious. That is given to myself. I challenge you to figure out your source, whatever that source is. If you're a source of wisdom, if you're a source of time, you know, give your time to something that you know that you need. Like, I needed this meditation. It was life-saving. I've broken my generational curse because of this meditation. And that was because I had the time to give. If you're a source of wisdom, turn the camera on, hit record, share your knowledge, share whatever, give it away. Don't, you know, don't charge anything. That is a blind devotion. You know, people are going to expect something in return, and you're just going to create, you know, more misery. Give it away for free. Turn the camera on, record. You might receive something. Like, you know, I've been trying to develop my voice. So by just giving away my knowledge, I'm receiving something, which is developing my voice, realizing that I say a lot of ums, I say a lot of you knows, which I just did there. And when I do that, I know that it's like a musical note. You know, you're just missing a musical note, and it's not pleasant to hear. So I'm learning by giving, you know, my wisdom, my knowledge, that I'm receiving something, right? So I challenge you to just try it. You know, if you're on the road, you see someone, a homeless person, remember, you are giving to yourself. When you give to that homeless person, in the fourth dimension, in the fifth dimension, or anything above the third dimension, that is one conscious that you're giving to, which is just like, you know, that is just an expression of God in some other being, some other entity. So, you know, just try it. You know, it was hard for me to give at first because I always thought that, you know, in the three-dimensional world, when you lose $1, it's gone. It's, you know, you don't get anything back. So it's like a game, right? One person wins, whatever, some person loses, a zero-sum game. Anyway, so I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for giving me your attention. You don't know how grateful I am when I see a like or I see a comment. It makes me feel so grateful that that somebody else out there is actually able to take this knowledge or wisdom or information and help them become better, become a better version of themselves. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.